CES is a show about a lot of things. Cars, phones, trucks, smart home stuff, weird gadgets, and lots of laptops. But this year we're seeing a very different sort of lineup of laptops than we usually do. Ones that are more focused on subtle, more iterative changes, and these big sweeping upgrades that we're usually used to. Take Dell's XPS 13 laptop for example. Last year's model, or the year before that, or the year before that, or the year before that, honestly was a really fantastic computer. And Dell did update it this year. But the biggest change was actually very, very small. All they did was move the front camera from the bottom of the screen to the top. And don't get me wrong, it's a noble and important change. It looked terrible at the bottom of the screen. You had this weird nostril shot, but no one's exactly calling this giant earth-shattering update. Or take Lenovo, whose update was a new fantastic screen for the Yoga S940, which again looks great. And new materials for the ThinkPad X1 models. They're not bad updates, don't get me wrong, but again, they're not big updates. Asus had this new thin bezel laptops with bezels that are even thinner than already razor thin ones that they announced at FIA. They had to do a reverse notch on top to put a camera back on the top of the screen, which is really interesting. They look great, but again, it's not really a huge update. And compared to the ones at IFA, it's just not the same leap forward as when they were first introduced. The Samsung, which updated the Notebook 9 Pro with a new design, which it really badly needed. The old one wasn't great and this feels much better, much crisper and much professional. But on an internal perspective, it's still largely the same computer as last year's, which again was a good computer, but it's not a big leap. And there's HP, whose biggest laptop updates this year was a new OLED screen version of the Spectre X360 laptop. It looks spectacular, especially when you look at it side by side with the old model. There's really not much reason to upgrade. And I speak to a larger trend that we're going to see throughout 2019, which is that our laptops right now are already really good. And that means that coming up with improvements or advancements going forward is going to be much a harder task and a much slower process. Part of the problem is technical too. Right now, there just aren't really new Intel chips to put in the laptops. And without these processors, which will allow things like improved battery life or better performance, seeing these sort of big monumental changes with the same tech that we already have now, it's going to be a much slower and much subtler process. All the factors that were leading to a slower development of mainstream laptops this year didn't really exist in the gaming PC side. So instead of not having new Intel chips, gaming PCs got a brand new GPU from NVIDIA with its new mobile RTX line. And the overall lack of pressure in the field means that it's become a place for really cool, fun experimentation with wild and weird concepts coming out. Part of those updates have still been relatively ordinary. Some of them have just been a simple spec bot when they're going to take these advantages of these new GPUs. Things like Asus's new Zephyrus X of Asus Predator Triton. They're thin, they're light, and they're gaming laptops that look and feel closer and closer to regular laptops, which is honestly great. But the real fun, which is the massive 17-inch beast of a computer, Asus ROG mothership. That's basically a Surface Pro that's been supersized and plays games so well. It's a really clever idea when you think about it, because instead of putting the laptop on the bottom and letting all the heat build up between the desk and the computer, Asus just turned everything on its side so the heat can ventilate on the back. You have this nice stand-up computer and the keyboard even detaches, so you can use it just like you would a desktop computer, which is honestly what most gamers actually want anyways. There's also things like Asus Predator Triton 900, which is a wild 2-in-1 $4,000 monster of a gaming laptop with this incredible 17-inch screen that has hinges and you can flip it around, you can twist it around, you can tilt it closer to your head, you can flip it backwards. You can just use it as a big screen if you're playing a game with a controller. You can even convert it into a giant tablet if that's what you want to do. It's a sort of technology that even we've seen on mainstream laptops for a while. But when you apply it to a giant gaming laptop, it takes on an entirely new spin. I mean literally, a whole new spin. And of course, that was what might be the most impressive computer of the entire show. Alienware's A51, which is basically a desktop computer that's just been shrunken down a bit. Just a bit. And it's attached to a screen and keyboard too. It makes desktop class Intel chips. So if you have a gaming PC, you can literally rip the chip out of your computer and stick it in your laptop. It has removable GPUs, which is a concept we really haven't seen on gaming PCs in years. And maybe it'll work this time. Maybe it'll be like desktops were. 2 years, 3 years, you just buy the latest NVIDIA card or AMD card, screw it into your laptop, and suddenly you can play games way better. It just has absolutely monstrous specs, 64GB of RAM, incredible screens, and Alienware actually made it look really good, which is great. And yeah, these big ridiculous machines are just that. They're really ridiculous. But that's not entirely the point, because innovation that companies' designs that they're trying out, these, fringe multi-$1,000 machines, will eventually make their way back to more affordable gaming laptops and even regular mainstream computers. That's really where the interesting stuff's gonna happen. Over the course of the next year and years to come, with all that said, don't write off 2019 either. There's still plenty of room for big jumps ahead in the laptop space. Intel has already started teasing both its 9th generation chips for laptops, as well as the promise that those 10nm Ice Lake chips will be out sometime this year. Its new Ultrabook style design language that's hoping to work with manufacturers to really drive the next leap forward for laptop design as a whole. And while deals are still on light of that, if it's anything like Intel's Ultrabook a few years back, we could be in a really interesting place, innovative and progressive way of revolutionary new laptops in the coming new months of 2019. So if CES is supposed to be this preview of what the biggest laptops of 2019 are, then yeah, like the laptops of 2018, they're going to be exactly like it. But considering how good these laptops are, a future that's just one of the sons of this sounds great to me. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, press that like button, please comment on your ideas of the video. It means a lot to me. And as always, see you in the next one. Bye.